Good morning, everyone. It's a special Monday show for a special guest. We've got Goliath in the house. Goliath Resources. We've got Roger Rosmus, who's the founder and CEO, of course. But we're also joined by Randall Karcher, who is a current PhD student at the Colorado School of Mines. This is great because he's been collaborating with Goliath for quite some time, and his research focuses on the geological characteristics of the Sherbet Zone. Try to contribute to the understanding of the formation and mineralization process. And there are some really very interesting academic and prospective commercial discoveries that have been made here on the more technical side of things, which we'll get into. But it's a real treat to get in here because there's great news out the last few days. The market's been receiving this news very well as well. And just to give a bit of a background for everyone, and then I'll kind of shut up for a little while, is Goliath is a Canadian junior exploration company focused on precious metals, particularly in the British Columbia's Golden Triangle, although they do have an Abitibi Greenstone Belt property as well. But really, we're focused on that Golddigger property. It spans over 52,000 hectares and is 100% owned by the company. Lots of news coming out in the past, especially this year. So great drill results at high-grade mineralization, and also because this ties together too, and we're glad to have Randall on, this is a reduced intrusion-related gold system, and we're going to find out exactly what that means for the entire region, but also what is moving forward here with Goliath. So welcome, everyone. Big, long intro. It's great to have you on because this is an exceptionally important discovery, moving at a very great pace, and perhaps with the news too of an adit moves at an even faster pace. So Roger, how are things going for the spring summer right now?
Andrew, thanks for having us on, and actually very timely with the news today. But yeah, no, it's been extremely busy off season. The whole team is basically grinding away, remodeling, double checking, rechecking the drill program for this year. It's still not completed yet. We're getting there, but certainly we're all very excited to get back up on that hill, up on the mountain there, and start drilling again as soon as possible. So I expect that we're going to have a very newsy year, similar to our previous years. Since 2021, quite a bit of news flow starting, obviously, once we get mobilized. So it's essentially around the corner. So looking to get back at it.
Yes, and I guess there hasn't been as much snow up there this year too. So it isn't, like I said, it's really around the corner. It's not that far off, is it?
Yeah, no, it's fairly low snowpack this year. The pass itself, I think, is pretty much clear now, but certainly in Kitsault, basically it's at sea level, is fine as well. But once we get it all okay, we've got someone heading up there, I guess, next week, just to check out the conditions. And once that gets reported back, then we'll be able to press that button and get things kicked off for the year.
Well, people are certainly, the market is excited about this upcoming spring, summer, as you're hit the ground again. It's such a great team too that you have. And one of the questions, if we can get to it, but it'll be later on, someone had actually written in was, because it is the same team that's also uncovered the big one with Juggernaut. Is that a bit off topic, guys? But it is related to the Golden Triangle. If we get to it, we can get to that. But I wanted, since we have Randall here as a key person involved in this, it must be pretty exciting that you get to do a PhD project on something that's being discovered, developed, like real time.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? Someone walked into the office.
No problem. No. It must be exciting to be able to work on something real time. That's like discovery, being part of that team, and seeing also, and I'll let you get into it, with it being this type of reduced intrusion, that it could mean significantly different things, not just for your own property, but the entire region. So that's kind of like giving you a little bit of I don't want to steal your thunder, but I wanted to give a little bit of a preface of that.
Well, first, hey, thanks a ton for having me on. And yeah, you're absolutely right. This is the first confirmed so-called intrusion-related gold deposit in the Golden Triangle, and the first well-established Eocene gold deposit in the Golden Triangle as well. So is it the only one? I wouldn't say it's the only one that happens to be Eocene, but it's very new research, and it's cutting edge on the Golden Triangle, and we've definitely caught a lot of attention because of that.
Yeah. And with this type of intrusion system, I've had like Dr. Henning on, and he kind of said, listen, this reminds me sort of Northern Star's Pogo deposit in many ways, because it is a reduced intrusion. What's your take on that?
Well, the morphology. Oh, sorry, Roger.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Just to clarify Randall's statement, we don't have a deposit as yet.
Yeah.
We have a high-grade gold system, for the record.
Yes, yeah. We have to be careful with language, that's for sure.
Yeah, forgive me for that one. But yeah, it's definitely similar to Pogo in that it's a stacked vein system, high grade, of course, of these polymetallic veins that are localized within structures. We are actually above the valley floor as well, which I don't believe Pogo is, so that's one of the important differences that we have that actually sets us aside and is actually more marketable.
That we have actually got a great diagram here, Adam, if we could pull it up, and it kind of shows this kind of layer cake idea of the sherbet discovery. And I mean, I think it was not the last press release or two, 3 months ago, you added like more layers. Like it was 5, now it's 8, it could be 12. What are we at now, the layers? Oh, sorry, we've lost sound here.
So 12, basically 12 stacked over a 1.2 kilometer area, vertically stacked. But keep in mind, though, some of these layers may be part of the same lode type of thing. The reason being is just, and again, having the correct hole spacings to be able to, within the model, correctly identify, hey, that this load may be actually attached to this load based on elevation and so on and so forth. But that 12 loads could end up potentially being maybe only 8 type of thing.
Yes.
And
Okay.
that will be further defined with more drilling, more pierce points as we proceed in 2025 and beyond.
I love this kind of imagery here too, because it kind of shows that you've got not only these veins going up from this bottom up, feeding upwards, but it is these layer cakes. And I think when people understand, then like, I can conceptualize what that looks like and what they're finding here, and also narrows down that idea of. I think I've heard you talk about before. I think it's a safe assumption is let's find that mother lode. Let's dive in there and find what is causing this. And this, the Pathfinder materials, all these things that are showing you've got a reduced intrusion, that's indicating like, listen, we're getting close to a source. So maybe Randall, jump in and let me know how those Pathfinder minerals and how those kind of veins lurching up and powering through these metals up to the top. Also, how the grade, as well, the gradient of them, why that matters too.
Yeah, absolutely. So especially in an intrusion-related system, what you have is a geochemical gradient. Some chemicals want to deposit further away from a causative intrusion. Some want to deposit closer. That's due to a lot of things, mostly temperature. We don't have to get too far into that, but basically you get a gradient that goes away, and that's distinct from several different deposit types. The reason why this is so important is because that causative intrusion, the intrusion that brings the gold into the system, itself can be well mineralized. In the case of, say, Snowline Gold or Fort Knox, those are reduced intrusion related deposits or resources or just vein systems that the bulk of the gold is stored in the intrusion itself. Now we know that the intrusive bodies here at Sherbet are also mineralized with gold. We know that they're gold bearing, and we know that those intrusives are the same age as Sherbet and the rest of these veins. So it is reasonable to say that the causative intrusion that brings in all of these veins would also be mineralized. So it's important to find it for that reason. Now, this geochemistry you can kind of use like arrows pointing to a causative, because you get a concentration of bismuth and tellurium closer to source, and you concentrate zinc and lead further from source. Same thing with silver, in fact. So you see silver grade would increase as you have distance, where the concentration of gold in the individual grains of electrum would increase towards a causative. And that's what we see at Sherbet. Not only a concentration of bismuth and tellurium as you go down the system into the volcanics, and especially in these dikes, but the same thing with the fineness of the gold. So how much silver is in the individual gold particles. There's more silver higher in the system, which is indicating how distal it is from the causative intrusion. And that's also correlated with our zinc and lead concentration. So all of that to say, this gradient is pointing to a causative intrusion, which would be a very important thing to find, because that could add a lot of gold to the system.
What are all, like, I mean, well, not all, but what are, like, if you had a checklist to confirm that, yes, you have that type of system, if you felt like someone says, well, tell me that checklist that confirms that it's the reduced intrusion, other than we've talked about Pathfinder minerals, what are some of the other things that you'd look for?
Absolutely. So an important thing to say, this is intrusion related versus another deposit type, really is that geochemical gradient. That is very distinct for a system related to an intrusion. There are certain deposit types where you don't get a gradient. So say an orogenic gold deposit, such a gradient wouldn't exist. We have fluid inclusion analysis. So that is analysis of the fluids that actually brought in the gold and the sulfides. And those are indicating a magmatic source that is about 6 kilometers deep. So that is the exact area where you would expect a reduced intrusion related style deposit specifically, instead of something more shallow. Finally, the strong bismuth gold correlation within the dikes is very, very characteristic of specifically a reduced intrusion related style deposit, where you kind of just have the perfect overlap of these things. So it's the bismuth gold correlation, it's the fluid inclusions, it's the geochemical gradient, and it's also the intrusion themselves, which have the gold in them, from our geochronology is the same age as the vein. So the fact that they overlap within the margin of error is very, very, it'd be one heck of a coincidence if they weren't linked.
Yeah. I like that. I like it oh, sorry. Yeah.
Maybe just expand on the 6 kilometers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Below the paleo surface, because obviously there's erosion. This happened 50 whatever million years ago.
Yeah.
So, are we 6 kilometers away? Probably not.
No. So when I say 6 kilometers, that's the paleo depth. So that's the depth at which the gold was in place. So, but remember that was 52 million years ago, about 51 million years ago. So over the course of the last 50 some odd million years, there's been a lot of erosion. So the veins at Sherbet are obviously not 6 kilometers deep. They're right at the surface. So
yes.
There's no reason to think that the causative intrusion has to be 6 kilometers deep. It used to be, but now it's much closer to surface, and it's going to be hard to say at which depth based off of the fluid inclusion evidence I have now, but it's hard to imagine it's that much deeper.
Yes. I'm going to take a step back because I take it for granted because I focus on Goliath quite a bit. I've been following for so long that, 92% of all of your drill results have hit. You've got fantastic drill results as well. So I like to just remind people of like just the pauses that you already have. You've got high grade, you've got a lot of these things going for you. And then why this part matters, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Randall, if you jump in, is that often these reduced intrusions are like lower grade, but more extensive, like large deposits. But this is different because you've got high grade once again. So it's slightly different than say other ones that you could point to as an example.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oftentimes the reduced intrusion related category, especially when it comes to the intrusion hosted stuff, is lower grade but higher tonnage. You'd mine it sort of like a porphyry. There are examples of high grade veins that are classified as reduced intrusion related style. Those are often veins that are outside of a causative intrusion. So like we have at Sherbet in these structurally hosted veins. It is especially interesting that the gold bearing intercepts inside of the intrusion that we have are also high grade. There are other wider intervals where it happens to be lower grade, but we have some really high gold grades coming out of those actual intrusion hosted stockwork. So what exactly that means, what that's pointing to, more drill results will definitely be necessary, but it's definitely an anomaly, and the kind of anomaly we like to see.
Yes, I think that's why it's attracted. Like McEwen's come in just recently, like a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and certainly more and more people are paying attention because that kind of what this is. Maybe I like to think of it as like you're putting clues together, and this is kind of giving the indication that you're getting close to that. Here's a great area, the source, and the source, because they tend to be large, and this is different because it's high grade. Are you close to the source of the larger system, but it being high grade? That could mean a lot of ounces. Now, future speaking conversation here. I'm not saying that this will happen, but these are indicative. There's some clues, and you're finding out a lot more about this.
Right. Well, an important thing to touch on there is the common belief in the Golden Triangle for the longest time is that these Eocene intrusions were barren. That's why, for the longest time in our drill program, we've not been paying much attention to these granitoids. It's because everyone says that they're barren and not to bother with them. So it's only because of the research that we've been able to figure out, the system's Eocene and the granitoid dikes are also gold bearing. So this upcoming drill season is actually our first opportunity to really look at these granitoids, not overlook them, but actually pounce and understand them.
Well, this is interesting too, and we'll step away a little bit from just specifically you guys and look at more academic-wise for you. Is that, and I'm not asking you to talk about any of the conversation, but it must be interesting conversations from everybody else who's up there that's saying, wait a second, okay, wait, do we have to go back and relog everything and look at everything and actually start refocusing some of our drill program, because the more that you, especially when your PhD is done, you're going to have a great case scenario to show people, listen, you need to be relooking at some of these targets that you had, whether or not you're another company or not, whether you're a Newmont, whether you're a Barrick, whoever you are, is that, listen, you guys maybe need to take a look at some of these other results that you just forgot about.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I won't name any names, but I've talked to several companies, and there's a lot of stir about the Eocene. And at first, everyone's like, "No, it couldn't be," but the data is there, and it's pretty undeniable, and it's hard to explain away. So now that that's out there, yeah, people are looking at the Eocene rocks. They're looking at the structures that they thought that they couldn't be mineralized, and people are looking back at old deposits, like things that were mined, and going, "Wait, was that Eastman all along?"
Yes. And that must be exciting for you too, because once again, you're involved in, like, as far as Goliath goes, this is excellent news. It's fantastic. And people are recognizing that. But for you too, to think on a bigger scale, like, oh my goodness, I'm working on a PhD that has this kind of impact. That's pretty wild.
I'm just really blessed that I get to work with Goliath. I mean, they've been really great to me. The rocks are fantastic as well. And I wake up every day, jump right out of bed because I have the coolest job on earth.
I love to hear that too, because more young people need to see, to hear that, to see that this is an opportunity out there, whether you're on the academia side and just pure data, or whether you're the type of person who wants to go hang off a mountain and jump around in helicopters, and just, you'll get rock samples. There's so many opportunities out there. And people need to know that, because I think it'll stir people's imagination and their passion for both science, for both understanding, geology, but also how they can be such an impactful portion of our economy, and also the transformation in energy.
Agreed.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit. What about this? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'd like to add that we're very blessed to have Randall as part of the team as well. So it's, and to the point, we've made history. We're making history. So
Yes.
Which is even more nice surprises along the way, which is very cool. And as Randall said, we're going to have a really good time this year, finding out a lot more what the heck's going on with these things. So
are there other unique? Because this is obviously more than a unique. It's not even quite right word. It is more historical. But are there other features here that you've observed that are strange, startling, different, or like indicative of, like, listen, this is very special?
Well, of course, especially high grade is always special. That's what makes gold valuable, right? Is it's hard to find. Not at Sherbet, though. It seems to be everywhere. Every geo that's worked there, in fact, at first they find the gold and they're like, oh, wow, there's gold, because you log core other places and there's hardly ever visible gold. There's visible gold in pretty much every hole that comes out of that mountain. I mean, I've never seen a geologist see gold coming out of the rock and go, oh, look, more gold. So, I mean, that's obviously reflected in our grades, but that's special in and of itself. Of course, the high grade inside of these dikes has me incredibly excited because it ties directly into my research. And the fact that we can get such high grade concentrated in the structures there is interesting. I don't get too far into the weeds, but the structure itself is considerably older than the veins that brought in the gold. So that is also quite interesting to me, but we don't need to get into the nitty gritty there.
No, that's fine. And once again, if you are interested in that nitty gritty, I'm sure there's a way you can track you down at school.
Yeah, you can find my email.
You can find you on LinkedIn, your email, and ask away. But on top of that, like are there any things, like, as far as like newer types of tools or like techniques that you can employ nowadays, and say someone who's looking from even just 5 years ago, 10 years, is there anything that you're using that's kind of like, oh, this is an interesting approach, or was it even like an interesting approach that found this system? Like, what is there anything that you're using that are employing to study the deposit that's strange or startling or unique?
Well, it's not the newest science, but it's often underutilized. Fluid inclusion analysis is a really important thing, because these systems, they're brought in by fluids, so gases and liquids, and you can actually observe the way those fluids behave to understand the system. That is something that's been underutilized in the Golden Triangle, which sort of means that we don't understand the systems as well as we should. Another one is rhenium osmium geochronology. Essentially, it's a more fleshed out modern way of telling how old the rocks are, especially sulfides like molybdenite. It's very reliable. It has small margins of error, and it is less inclined to be reset than something like argon, and you don't need to have intrusive to date it like a zircon. So all that to say, there's definitely new research that gets to be applied here, and good for everybody, I think.
And I guess this added proposal, I mean, this is very exciting. When I saw that today, I thought, oh, this is very cool. Because now, once again, you can jump here, Roger, tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm imagining just drilling a hole into the side of the mountain that gives you all year-round access to go down deep, whatever direction you want, maybe getting closer to the dikes. Am I interpreting this right?
Yeah, kind of all the above. I mean, there's so many benefits for the dike. Obviously, we can drift right into the high grade or the highest grade at Bonanza. And, if we were to do a bulk sample at some point, we could potentially be pulling out, we had quite a few holes over an ounce, a lot of holes that were kind of half an ounce, 3/4 of an ounce. So there's lots of gold there. And so that's exciting part of it. And at the same time, we're going to have get an actual visual on the system from, at depth versus, drilling down, 800 meters. If we're drilling from the top of the mountain, we're going to be drilling, maybe 50-meter holes or 100-meter holes to expand and what have you. But, it's early days. It's something that obviously it's going to take some time, but we feel it's the right step. That's the next move for us to get a better understanding of the system. And to the point on the dikes is a lot of these things we can see at surface, like no different than sure bet of the 2.2 kilometers of mineralization surface, wrapping around the mountain. These dikes cut right through the mountain. You can see it right as plain as day on the south slope, ripping over to the top and then down the north slope. And then as it goes, gets buried down below in the glacier on the backside. In addition, these dikes, we can see even to the mountain behind us. You can see the dikes cutting through as well. So there's lots going on here, and hence that's why we added, increased our land position by 28%. All of this stuff was wide open to the south that had this non-barren type of looking rock. So it was a great opportunity for us. Got first mover advantage. And now we're actually sitting at just over 91,000 hectares in total. So, which is massive. And now we control roughly 56 kilometers of that red line. As we all know, that contact between the Stahini and Hazelton group, where all the big deposits have been found, either 2 to 3 kilometers on either side of that contact point. So we're sitting really nice here.
Can you maybe just remind us of the red line, because that is such an important facet. I remember speaking about it years ago. It is a huge indicator that, once again, I sometimes forget to mention, because I feel like, well, we've moved so far beyond into great drill results. But that's important because it's not just a small clue; it's a huge clue that's also kind of showing, like, listen, we're adding up win after win after win to this milestone checklist.
Yeah. No. Bottom line is, we're in the right zip code.
Yeah.
There's mines if you follow that thing, there's like mines scattered all over the place, big deposits scattered all over the place. So, target rich environment area, and then with us with tier 1 characteristics written all over it.
Now, it's really cool too, and I won't ask you to comment on this because this is definitely future statements. Not even a statement, but I like to use large language models, and I'll put in all sorts of things, and you can prompt them to ask different information. I would encourage people to go do this on their own and just go, listen, given the following data that we have from Goliath so far, what kind of ounces might they have? Like, I've asked it that kind of question, a number of times, and I'll be hesitant to say, but it's pretty good what it spits out. I'll let you go do it yourself because I don't necessarily want to seem like I'd be too promotional.
Are you talking the Grok, or are you talking ChatGPT?
Like ChatGPT, large language model, sub it in and say, listen, here's some of the data we have is it reasonable to think that there's more than 5 million ounces or something of that nature? Or could there be 10 million ounces? You can prompt it to ask it things, and it'll give you the spit out of like how it came about. Doesn't mean it's necessarily true or factual or analytical, but it is interesting if someone wanted to go play with that to see what have you got so far.
For sure. I mean, obviously subject to MRE and so on, but
yeah.
Just type in how many ounces are at Sherbet Discovery, Golden Triangle, Goliath, and it'll give you a full breakout, full number, recoverable ounces, so on and so forth. It's like it's an interesting kind of a exercise.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, we still have to continue to drill the system out, increase the confidence level in the continuity that it is there. Obviously we're quite convinced it's there because we can see it on both sides of the mountain in various loads, but we just keep on drilling. That's all we got to do, and then obviously with this adit, that's going to be a really nice tool for us to even further understand and expand the system as we know it today.
Well, I was lucky to do a great interview with Doug Silver probably 2 months ago, and he reminded me that only 5% of deposits are greater than 1 million ounces. And because I'm so used to looking at some of the numbers you guys have been putting out, you're growing this thing, and it's obviously looking quite spectacular. Is once again, it's one of those things that it captures people's imagination because they go, "Oh my goodness, we've got a lot of great results, great science, and a lot of these other softer type of things that all add up to a bigger story." Ooh, I think Roger's frozen here a bit. Randall, what's your thoughts if you jump in?
Well, it's definitely clear that we have something very special going on at Sherbet. And to touch on a point that you also just said, the amount of gold that's in the mountain, we have to wait until we have more official numbers on that.
Sure.
But all of our calculations now do not account for causative intrusion or even the dikes. That's how new this is. So once we are able to add that to what we have, that number goes up quite a bit.
And that's why this summer is so, I've said it every summer, this is going to be such a powerful summer for you guys, but this year really will be because there's so much going on. And it's great that with this adit even being considered, that I'm sure opens up the plans for, targets and how you guys are viewing that model as well.
Yeah, for sure. It opens up a lot of opportunity for infill and targeting, and it cuts back on a lot of drilling costs.
Definitely.
Instead of having to drill 200 meters to hit a target.
And if we are able or...
Oops, sorry, we've lost you a little, cut out there, Roger, a bit. We'll get to Randall to jump in here and continue.
Yeah, I just really like to emphasize with that adit, the amount of drill costs that we cut back on would be enormous. We'd instead of having to go 200 meters to intercept our targets, it's down to far less than that, less than 100 for sure. That improves our modeling, that improves our targeting, and the more information we get, the more gold we can find.
Yeah, that kind of smaller step outs, 50-meter kind of things, or something smaller internally, certainly fills in. Not that there's gaps, but it gives a lot more flavor to that layer cake to see, because those layer cakes they're different than say a pogo again in a good way because they kind of pinch and swell, right?
It depends. I mean, you definitely have good grade distributed throughout.
Yeah.
We definitely have what I've heard called jewelry boxes, so intercepts where it just goes crazy.
Yeah.
And to touch on the adit again, where we want to put it is going to give us the best opportunity to intercept these jewelry boxes. And those high-grade shoots are very attractive, especially to majors who want to go in and then make back their capital expenditure as fast as possible. If you can define the highest grade where it's got the craziest amounts of gold, that is really what gets a property turned into more than just a prospect.
That's what's so interesting about this too. We can get into the infrastructure. There's a lot of positives when we're talking more like, can this be made into a mine? And one of that being, you've done a lot of metallurgical work already. I think Roger had said before, maybe you're going to retest again. Maybe you could touch on that. And then secondly, there's a lot of free gold already, and the way that you can the gravity, a lot of majors would go, wait a second, we can this can be profitable quickly, and then we can explore and we can expand it. There's no urgency because it's profitable. Now, once again, that's very forward-looking statements. You don't have a 43-101. I'm being very, very kind of, making big assumptions here. So just to put that out there, be clear. So yeah, maybe you can jump.
There he goes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we'll get Roger back on here. It's just having connection problems here. But what are your thoughts on that? Like as far as the metallurgy and whatnot?
Sure. Well, we have very favorable metallurgy. It's about 50%. The exact number is off my head, but it's about 50% just from gravity alone. So
nice.
The gold is just falling out. And then it's 92% by flotation, which is also remarkable. This isn't refractory gold locked up in minerals that you can't actually get it out. This is actually an ore that we could get the gold out of very easily. And everyone we talk to with our metallurgy results, they're very impressed. Now, we obviously have to do more metallurgy work, especially on the gold-bearing dikes, because they present themselves way differently than what we have at Sherbet. But just from the work that I've done with my petrography and other analytical work that I've done, the gold that I observe it's large and it's not locked up in other minerals. It forms composite grains. So I have no reason to think that the metallurgy would be less favorable. In fact, all indications from my side indicate it would be more favorable. Even higher amounts from gravity separation, even better recovery would be, once again, very forward-looking. But just from what I've seen, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, we're putting out our like what if kind of hat, and that would bring all the sustaining costs down much lower. Never mind the fact that now more than ever, and it's much more reasonable to be discussing that being at that near that Alice Arm deepwater port, 30 kilometers away. You've got highway access. I think it's Highway 37 to Stewart. You've got your Goliath camp at Kitsault, which is on private land. I mean, there's so many things too where you say, all right, you guys are growing this thing, but could it become a mine? And it's like, yeah, there's like like there's a whole plan that you start thinking ahead instead of it being like, oh, well, we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no way to transport. There's no way to do this. It's like, no, there is. There's all of this. There's already a camp. It's on private land. You can ship it out here at port access. All these things that at the beginning you'd think of like, well, it's a bit early to be talking about that. It's like, no, it's good to be focused on that part now as well as part of the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this is about just one of the best places that you could find a property like Sherbet. We've got not one, but two locations with deep water access. There's local road access. Obviously, the abandoned mining town of Kitsault is quite the amenity. We've got high tension power lines just a stone's throw away. This isn't something that's in the middle of nowhere that's going to take a bunch of real head scratching to figure out how you would actually put a mine there. It's practically begging to have a mine there already.
yeah.
With all the amenities nearby.
I know. I think I was just like just spitballing ideas out, and I was like, if you just send up like a ball mill and whatnot, and you're doing gravity, like you could like the cost of starting it up. Like it wouldn't necessarily be all that high. Once again, hey, listen, I'm forward thinking here, but just kind of spitballing these ideas. Like, wait, you could put it here, and there's the camp right here. It's kind of like playing Minecraft, but but you're like this. I can see this happening. Whereas some other regions, you might think, oh, we really need to hit a lot more tonnage. We need to hit a lot more grade if this is going to become conceivable. Because just the road, the gravel road, is going to cost us $100 million or something.
Right. The exact cost and analytics of it, I'll have to leave to smarter than me. I'm a geologist. I just bang rocks together. But at the end of the day, it seems to be a wonderful place to have a property like this. We're right next to so much that it doesn't take much imagination to picture this getting off the ground, especially off the back of our drill results.
Yes. And I think that's kind of what I'm highlighting is that once you start freeing yourself up to, and even ask ChatGPT, just say, hey, look, they've got Kitsault, they've got this. Does that matter? It'll tell you. And that's what's so great about these large language models is it may not be 100% factual. It does hallucinate, but it will be a great tool to analyze data and research and whatnot to confirm, hey, listen, Andrew's just not saying this. This is out there. This is information that's out there. But once again, it's one of those things for you especially as well, is that it's like like the whole universe is conspiring and aligning on this one. It's like, this is wild. Like, it's not only being involved in an incredible discovery, but it's and I'll say academic kind of side of things, because it is more technical. That excitement of what you found with this reduced intrusion and in that same time period is a real feather in the cap too, because once again, it affects an entire area that's like, it's world-class area. And this must be so cool to be involved.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I think I'm one of the luckiest men to ever live, because I didn't. I couldn't have picked a better project if I did get to pick. It was just an amazing coincidence that I got set up with such an awesome property and awesome company. And yeah, no, it's never lost on me how excellent of an opportunity this is, and being able to develop the literature, not just in the Golden Triangle, but on intrusion-related deposits and prospects and properties. It's remarkable. I mean, don't get me started, because I can just keep going.
I've been lucky to meet a lot of the team, and maybe I'll let Roger, welcome back, you to jump in. You've got such a great, talented team. And what's, I'd say a little bit unique is it's a lot of young bucks. They're hungry, and every time I see them, they're pumped. Like, they love what they're doing, not just because they love the job, but they're also like, I can't believe I'm involved in this. This is so amazing. And that's infectious, not infect.
No, I mean, just like I say, I think you mentioned earlier, Randall is like, finding gold, and like last year, 92% of the holes. It's like, oh yeah, I found more gold.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and then you go on some projects, you won't see gold ever throughout the entire summer. Well, I can tell you, like, I'd say most of the team have never seen this amount of gold coming out of the core, I'm sure, in their career, and may never see anything like this again. But
yes,
it is pretty unique stuff what's going on there. Oh, there's a picture of the big nugget there, size of a thumbnail, actually sitting on my desk here. Nice museum piece. But yeah, no, it's the team's awesome, and without the team and all the other good stuff, getting lucky on the hill really makes my job super easy. Going out and talking about some of the great things that they've been up to out in on each exploration season.
And it's another key factor that I forget, and I'll just bring it up because there's a lot of new people tuning into this story, is that some people go, well, like, we keep on hearing there's nothing near surface, it's all being found, and you go, that's largely true, except the nuanced answer is you had glacial retreat. And that's the early kind of discussion points I would talk about Goliath years ago, but it's worth mentioning again, because someone goes, well, how come you guys are finding this? I go, well, in part, that's why.
Exactly. And and let's not forget about the all the land that we have to the north of our property at Golddigger on the Cambridge field. Treasure Island. We're going to go back there. We're going to do some surveys and just see, because this stuff's going to light up quite nicely with the survey we're going to run. And that's like 6 kilometers from the Porter, Idaho mine on trend. So clearly the stuff, the best place to find another mine is near another mine, a past producing mine type thing. So yeah, we haven't given up on Treasure Island. We're just going to get some more. We need more science before we go back up there and drill again. But anyhow, so that's another piece of information that we'll be able to share with the shareholders. Once we're able to get that survey completed and interpreted and so on, and that'll be a nice news release, I hope.
No, I'm sure. There was a question here as well, and it is related. I mean, it's slightly off topic, but it is related because it's the same team, which is very exciting. And someone else said, hey, listen, can you make a comment or anything about, because it is the same original team, that SureBet, that discovered the big one with Juggernaut. And I said, listen, it's a bit off topic, but no, it's related. You're like a brother-sister companies. So, maybe you can make a comment on that.
Yeah, it's the same team, the guys, they've got the eye, they got the knack for this sort of stuff. So, it's like the special ops, Navy SEALs team going out there, slugging through the bush and finding these sorts of things. So, we're very we're very blessed to have the whole team, who they are, every year the same, coming back, and the ability, and also Goliath actually is a shareholder
Yes.
of that. So obviously that's public information disclosed in our financial statements. But yeah, we want to see that succeed. And like, who knows? I mean, I think they've got like 11 kilometers of the highway of gold kind of thing. And
Yeah.
like, holy smokes, we only had 2.2 at Sherbet.
Yeah.
So it's highly prospective. And
Yeah.
let's wait and see when they go drill it. I know they went to go raise out a couple, like $3 million, and I think they're now at
10 or
I don't know,
10.
like 10 or something, or 20
Yeah.
million, or what the heck. But and that's good for the industry. I mean, it's just good. We want to see people succeed in the space, obviously, particularly in the triangle. Even Sean there at Dolly Varden,
Yeah.
saw they acquired some stuff there today.
Yep.
Increased land package and so on. So ultimately, I mean, this is like a huge roll-up play, I think, for any senior at some particular point. It's all good. Every win is a win, and we got to take that, and hopefully bring more people, get them more interested in the types of things that are going on in the triangle.
Yeah. And once again, it's so important with the news release and with the study being done here to add all the science that people like to see that. They like to see all the data. They like to, of course, the easy thing is seeing the great drill results, but to have all of the science to back it up, I mean, it just strengthens real investors when they see, here's the thesis and here are all the puzzle pieces coming together that, because sometimes, like we'll talk about, you can't hit big numbers all the time. You're going to have some times where it's not quite as great at results, but often I've talked to people, whenever you really break down what was found in that hole, is that no, this is still at the larger macro picture of what we're finding, although it may not be a headline drill result in some formation, that no, this is kind of what we expected. It was going to be, it's building the size, and sometimes we're too focused, I think, as investors, and especially in a tougher sector, that everyone wants to see like ginormous numbers all the time. And it's like, no, sometimes when you have ones that are just like good, we see gold, things are good, that's still adding a lot of bulk tonnage. It's still adding to the overall thesis. And when you have someone like Randall come on and remind us of all the science being put behind this, it's putting all those puzzle pictures together to remind us of why are we in this to begin with. Like we're here to find a mine and grow this discovery.
Yeah, and I guess also some things that get I think, for the most part, is okay. So right now we have 1.8 square kilometers area of mineralized zone. Just think about the intrusive. How big would that have to be to drive up all this gold?
Yeah,
this entire area. So just think about that. I mean, it's got to be massive, right?
Yes.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, the amount of fluid that it would take to make something like Sherbet and the rest is a staggering amount of fluid. So the intrusion, just like Roger's saying, that the fluid came out of, it has to be quite large, especially because at a depth of 6 kilometers, granites don't like letting go of fluid. So that makes it even bigger. Whatever we're targeting here at the causative, it's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be a big thing to find.
I like Quentin's comment with Jay Taylor. He goes, "We have a new beast in the Golden Triangle."
It is. It's a monster. This huge kind of monster. Can we bring up that diagram again? Yeah, that one. Now, this kind of shows this ginormous monster beast here feeding it up. But is it possible that it's like a number of these feeder systems rather than one giant, enormous one? Like, could it be like bubbles of big ones forcing up?
Yeah, it could be. Now, the dikes that we see that are not only the same age as Sherbet, but also mineralized, it's hard to imagine those themselves are the causative.
Okay.
In the way that my finger isn't my hand, isn't my arm, isn't my body. They're
Yes.
likely off of one larger thing. Now, the period of time that brought in this intrusion, within margin of error, I can only tell you within 1 or 2 million years. So there's a large period of time that is favorable for gold mineralization here. So could there be multiple gold-bearing pulses, multiple intrusions bringing in multiple systems, multiple events? There could be, only time will tell.
So what are, I mean, you can't say too much because I know you're wrapping up modeling and whatnot. What can you give us any hints as to what your thoughts are here moving forward in the very short near term, 3 months, 4 months, heading up to Surebet again? Is there anything you can share with us that is going to take place in the next short term?
What's going to take place is we're going to keep on drilling, Andrew. That's the key. And we have actually identified 44 additional holes of this reduced intrusive style of mineralization in the dikes that are already sitting in the core boxes from previous years, because we didn't know if this was going to run.
Yeah.
So that'll be the first order of business. The team's going to show up at camp, and day 2, guess what? They're going to the core farm there and ripping out core boxes, and we're going to get that on the table, and we'll be looking at that very, very closely out of the gate. So, I point to the 13 holes that Randall picked last year just to test to see what the heck was going on. Of those 13 holes, most of them were mineralized. 6 of them actually have visible gold. So I'm thinking we've got 44 holes, roughly about 1,400 meters. So we kind of have like maybe a 45% chance probability statistically that we might even see some VG early on in the season from stuff that's already sitting in the core box that we never assayed. So that's pretty exciting.
That's very cool. Yes.
Yeah. But hey, I just realized we've got a 1 o'clock here. We got to
yes.
Off here.
No, excellent. Yes, we've been talking too long. I got too carried away and excited, but we had lots of people watching, over 1,000 people or 1,100 people that were interested. Cool. So that's great. Thank you so much, Randall, for explaining more the geo, more the technical. And once again, if you're real curious, you're real, want to ask more questions, you can find him on LinkedIn. I don't want to give away his email because he won't appreciate that. But if you can find him on LinkedIn, maybe he'll answer you. But
or you can find me on the
yes.
On our website. If you have any questions and so on, if you can't find Randall, I'll certainly make sure he gets your questions, that we can get those answered in a timely fashion.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much. Good luck in your next meeting as well. And we're going to be eyes peeled, looking to see what the news coming out here. It's going to be a great summer. Thank you both, guys.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks a ton.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye-bye.